The subject's awakening. The Zyraxian research vessel hung silently in the depths of space, its angular form casting long shadows across the stars. Inside the sterile confines of Laboratory 7, Thalia Winters lay strapped to an examination table, her breath fogging the clear containment field above her. The female human biologist had lost track of how long she'd been here. Time meant little in the endless cycle of tests and procedures. Through the haze of sedatives, Thalia observed her captors with scientific detachment. The Zyraxians moved with unsettling grace on their four backward-jointed legs, their iridescent scales shifting colors with each movement. Their elongated heads housed three sets of compound eyes that seemed to process every detail of their environment simultaneously. The subject continues to demonstrate remarkable cellular regeneration. The lead researcher, designated as Primary Observer Nexus, noted in their clicking language. Unlike previous specimens, this one's neural pathways appear to be adapting to our procedures. Thalia understood every word. The neural implant they'd given her translated their speech perfectly, an unwanted gift from her captors. She'd been studying extremophile bacteria on Europa when they took her, recognizing her expertise in adaptation mechanisms. Now she was both scientist and subject, her own biology under the microscope. Another Zyraxian, Secondary Observer Vertex, manipulated holographic displays showing Thalia's neural patterns. The human's brain activity suggests consciousness during our procedures. Fascinating. Their species shouldn't be capable of processing our chemical suppressants this effectively. Thalia kept her breathing steady, maintaining the illusion of sedation. Over months of captivity, she'd learned to resist their drugs, building tolerance while pretending to remain subdued. Her mind stayed sharp, gathering information, looking for patterns, waiting for an opportunity. The chamber door whispered open as Medical Director Helix entered, their scales rippling with authority patterns. The Council requires accelerated results. Increase the testing frequency. The human's unusual resilience must be quantified before the fleet arrives. Fleet. The word sent ice through Thalia's veins. She'd suspected the Zyraxians' interest in human biology went beyond mere scientific curiosity. Their questions had been too specific, too focused on survival thresholds and recovery rates. Acknowledged Director, Nexus responded, though I must note that increasing the intensity may compromise the subject's survival. This specimen has provided valuable data. Replacing it would delay our timeline. Helix's scales darkened. The timeline is not negotiable. The Council believes humans possess biological advantages that could benefit our species. Once we understand their adaptability, we can begin integration procedures on a larger scale. Integration. Thalia fought to keep her breathing steady as the implications became clear. They weren't just studying humans, they were preparing to harvest them, to somehow incorporate human biological traits into their own species. As the Zyraxians continued their discussion, Thalia focused on the ceiling above her, counting the panels for the 100th time. 24 across, 16 wide. The ventilation system cycled every 7 minutes. Guard rotations occurred every 4 hours. She'd memorized every detail, every pattern, building a mental map of her prison. But more importantly, she'd noticed something her captors hadn't: subtle changes in their behavior. The increasing urgency in their tests, the lengthy discussions about fleet movements, the way they tracked Earth's communications. They were preparing for something big, and Thalia knew she had to find a way to warn her people. The door whispered open again, admitting a junior researcher with a tray of familiar instruments. Thalia's muscles tensed involuntarily, but she maintained her facade of drugged compliance. As they prepared for another round of tests, she retreated into her mind, where she was already formulating her next move. She wasn't just a subject, wasn't just data to be collected. She was a scientist, trained to observe, analyze, and understand. And somewhere in this sterile prison of steel and shadow, there had to be a way out. As the familiar sting of their instruments began again, Thalia held on to that thought like a lifeline. The Zyraxians might think they knew everything about human biology, but they had overlooked something crucial: the indomitable nature of human will. And Thalia Winters was about to show them just how dangerous that oversight could be. Breaking protocol. Commander Wraith Donovan stood at the helm of the stealth scout vessel Whisper, his dark eyes fixed on the holographic display of the massive Zyraxian research vessel. Intelligence had tracked this ship for months, watching its mysterious patterns across the outer rim of human space. Now, hidden in the shadow of a debris field, they were close enough to gather real data. Signal analysis complete, Commander. Lieutenant Jun Park reported from her station, her fingers dancing across the sensor controls. They're broadcasting on frequencies we've never seen before, but there's something else. A weak transmission buried in the noise. It's using an old Europa research frequency. Wraith's jaw tightened. The Europa research station had gone dark 6 months ago. All personnel presumed lost in what appeared to be a catastrophic containment failure. But if someone had survived, "Show me," he ordered, moving to Jun's station. The lieutenant isolated the signal, a repeating pattern hidden within the Zyraxian communications. To most observers, it would appear as background radiation, but Wraith recognized it immediately. Binary code, spelling out a single word over and over. "Harvest," Jun whispered, her face pale. "What does it mean?" Before Wraith could respond, his second-in-command, Zara Vega, called out from tactical. "Commander, I'm picking up unusual energy readings from their medical bay. The power signatures, they're consistent with advanced biological research. And there's something else, human life signs." Wraith's mind raced. The Whisper was a reconnaissance vessel, not meant for combat or rescue operations. Protocol dictated they maintain surveillance and report back to Fleet Command. But if there were humans aboard that ship, subjected to whatever experiments the Zyraxians were conducting. "Show me tactical options," he ordered, returning to the main display. Zara's hands flew across her console, highlighting potential entry points, patrol patterns, and security measures. "Their shield grid has a blind spot here." She indicated a section near the research pods. "Their own sensors create interference. With precise timing, we could dock a shuttle without detection. But sir," she hesitated, "this would be a direct violation of standing orders." Wraith studied the display, weighing the risks against his conscience. He'd spent 15 years in the fleet, building a spotless record, earning his command through dedication to protocol and procedure. One wrong move here could throw all that away, and possibly trigger an interstellar incident. "Lieutenant Park, continue signal analysis. I want to know everything about that transmission." "Zara, prep the tactical shuttle and alert medical. If we're going in, we need to be ready for casualties." "Sir." Zara's voice held a mix of surprise and approval. "What about command?" Wraith's expression hardened. "Sometimes protocol exists to be broken. We can't leave our people in alien hands, whatever they're doing in there." He gestured to the massive ship looming before them. "It stops today." The next hour was a flurry of careful preparation. Wraith selected a small team: himself, Zara, and their combat medic, Dr. Finn O'Reilly. They suited up in stealth armor, checking weapons and equipment while Jun coordinated their approach vector. As they boarded the tactical shuttle, Wraith caught Zara studying him. "Something on your mind, Commander Vega?" She secured her helmet before responding. "Just wondering what changed." "You've always been by the book, sir. Why risk everything now?" Wraith checked his plasma rifle's charge before answering. "My father used to say that rules exist to serve humanity, not the other way around. If we abandon our people in the name of protocol, we abandon our humanity." He met her gaze. "Besides, someone's trying to warn us about something called harvest. I'd rather not wait to find out what that means." The shuttle detached silently from the Whisper, maneuvering through the debris field. As they approached the blind spot in the Zyraxian shields, Wraith felt the familiar calm of combat settling over him. Whatever they found aboard that ship, whatever consequences came from this decision, he knew he was doing the right thing. 30 seconds to contact. Zara announced. Shield harmonics aligned. We'll have a 7-minute window before their sensors recalibrate. Wraith nodded, his mind already mapping out their infiltration route. He'd broken protocol, crossed a line that couldn't be uncrossed. Now all that remained was to prove it had been worth the risk. Remember, he addressed his team, we go in quiet, we find our people, and we get out. If we're discovered, he checked his weapon one final time. Then we show these aliens why humanity isn't just another species to be studied. The shuttle glided toward the massive hull of the Zyraxian vessel, carrying its crew toward a confrontation that would change the course of human-alien relations forever. And somewhere inside that labyrinth of alien metal, Thalia Winters was about to discover she wasn't as alone as she thought. Escape from the void. Thalia's moment came during the shift change. She'd noticed the pattern weeks ago. A 3-minute window in the monitoring systems recalibrated, creating a brief blind spot in their surveillance. As primary observer Nexus and his team filed out, she began counting silently. 180 seconds. That's all she had. The moment the door sealed, she activated the neural implant they'd given her, but not in the way they'd intended. Instead of allowing it to translate their language, she reversed its polarity, sending a surge of feedback through their monitoring systems. The containment field flickered and died. She was halfway through freeing herself from the restraints when the facility rocked with an explosion. The lights flickered, switching to emergency protocols, and alien klaxons began wailing throughout the structure. For a moment, Thalia froze, wondering if her escape attempt had somehow triggered facility-wide security measures. That's when she heard it. Weapons fire. Not the high-pitched whine of Zyraxian energy weapons, but the deeper, distinctive sound of human plasma rifles. In the corridor outside Laboratory 7, Commander Wraith Donovan and his team moved with practiced precision. Dr. O'Reilly's scanner swept each chamber they passed, searching for human biosigns, while Zara covered their rear, her rifle trained on the intersection behind them. Contact, O'Reilly whispered, indicating a sealed door. One human life sign. Strong vitals. This is what we're looking for. Wraith nodded, placing a breach charge on the door's control panel. 3, 2, 1. The door blew inward just as Thalia finished freeing herself. She grabbed a medical tray, prepared to use it as a weapon, then froze at the sight of 3 armored figures entering the lab. Human figures. Thalia Winters. Wraith asked, lowering his rifle slightly. We're here to get you out. Before she could respond, Zora's voice cut through the moment. Multiple contacts, closing fast. They'd know we're here. A group of Zyraxian security drones rounded the corner, their weapon arrays already charging. Zara opened fire, her plasma bolts tearing through the first wave. But more were coming. Time to go. Wraith grabbed Thalia's arm, but she pulled away. Wait. The data terminal. I need to access it. They're planning something big. We need proof. Wraith hesitated for a split second, then nodded. O'Reilly, cover her. Zara and I will hold this position. You have 30 seconds. Dr. Winters. Make them count. Thalia's fingers flew across the alien interface, her neural implant translating the symbols as she worked. She copied everything she could find about Project Harvest, about their plans for humanity. Just as the last file transferred to her stolen data crystal, another explosion rocked the facility. That's our ride getting impatient, Wraith called out. We need to move now. They fought their way back through the corridors, Zara and Wraith working in perfect tandem to clear their path. Thalia found herself watching the commander in action, impressed by his fluid movements and quick decisions. This wasn't just a soldier following orders. This was someone who'd risked everything to save a stranger. They reached the docking port where their shuttle waited, but the Zyraxians had one last surprise. Medical Director Helix stood blocking their path, flanked by security drones, their scales pulsing with anger patterns. The subject will not leave, Helix announced through the translation system. Your interference threatens years of crucial research. Surrender now, and we may spare your lives. Wraith stepped forward, positioning himself between Helix and Thalia. "Here's another option," he said, revealing the plasma grenade in his hand. "Let us pass, or I blow this section to atoms. Your choice." "You would not." Helix's scales shifted to a pattern of disbelief. "You would die as well." "Maybe." Wraith's voice was steel. "But that's the thing about humans. We're willing to die for what we believe in. Are you?" For a long moment, nobody moved. Then, slowly, Helix stepped aside. Their scales rippled with a new pattern, one Thalia had never seen before. Was it respect? The team backed onto their shuttle, weapons trained on the Ziraxians until the airlock sealed. As they detached from the research vessel, Thalia finally allowed herself to breathe. She was free. After months of captivity, of being nothing but a test subject, she was free. "Thank you," she said, looking at Wraith as he removed his helmet. "You risked everything to save me." "Why?" Wraith met her gaze, his dark eyes intense. "Because it was right, and because whatever they're planning, humanity needs to know." Speaking of which, he nodded to the data crystal she clutched. "What exactly did you find in their systems?" Thalia's expression darkened. "Something terrible. They're not just studying us, they're preparing for a full-scale invasion. And thanks to their experiments, they know exactly how to hurt us." Trust among stars. The Whisper's command center fell silent as Thalia projected the stolen data onto the main display. Complex diagrams of human biology floated in the air, annotated with Ziraxian notes that the neural implant translated into chilling clarity. "They've been studying our ability to adapt," Thalia explained, her voice steady despite the tremor in her hands. "Our immune systems, our cellular regeneration, our neural plasticity. They're fascinated by how quickly humans can overcome biological and environmental challenges." Lieutenant Jun Park leaned forward, studying the projections. "But why? The Ziraxians are technologically advanced. What could they want with human biology?" "Survival." Thalia brought up another set of diagrams. "Their species is dying. Their genetic diversity has become so limited that they can't adapt to new environments anymore. They need our biological advantages to survive expansion into new territories." Wraith crossed his arms, his expression grim. "And they're willing to harvest humanity to get what they need. How much time do we have?" "Their fleet arrives in 3 months." Thalia manipulated the display to show ship movements. 7 carrier vessels, each containing thousands of warrior-class Ziraxians. They'll target isolated colonies first, perfecting their extraction techniques before moving on to larger populations. Dr. O'Reilly shook his head. "Fleet Command will never believe this without concrete proof. The Ziraxians are supposed to be peaceful researchers. We have trade agreements, diplomatic relations. All a cover," Zara interjected, studying the tactical data. "They've been positioning their research vessels near our major colonies for months. We thought they were conducting standard surveys, but they've been mapping our defenses." Wraith turned to Thalia, his dark eyes searching her face. "The neural implant they gave you, could it be used to track us?" "No." Thalia touched the small scar behind her ear. "I modified it during my captivity. It only translates now. But," she hesitated, "it's given me insight into their technology. I understand their systems in ways I shouldn't. Sometimes I dream in their language." The room fell quiet as the implications sank in. Thalia had been changed by her captivity, marked by it in ways that went beyond physical scars. But those changes might be exactly what humanity needed to survive. "We need to warn Earth," Wraith decided, "but we can't risk a direct transmission. The Ziraxians monitor all standard communication channels." "The Europa frequency," Jun suggested, "the one Thalia used to send her warning. It's old tech, practically obsolete. They might not think to monitor it." Wraith nodded. "Make it happen. In the meantime," he turned to Thalia, "we need everything you know about their weaknesses. Biology, technology, psychology. Anything we can use." As the others dispersed to their tasks, Thalia found herself alone with Wraith, She studied him in the dim light of the command center, noting the way he carried the weight of command with quiet strength. "You're taking the huge risk," she said softly. "Believing me, helping me. If you're wrong." "I'm not wrong," he interrupted, his voice certain. "I've spent my career studying alien species, learning to read their intentions. The Zyraxians have been too perfect, too accommodating. Now we know why." Philia stepped closer, drawn by the intensity in his gaze. "Why did you really come for me, Commander? Breaking protocol, risking your career, your life. That's more than just doing the right thing." Wraith was quiet for a moment, considering his words. 6 months ago, I lost my sister's family in the Ganymede colony disaster. Another accident that the Zyraxians helped investigate. When we detected your signal," he met her eyes, "I knew I couldn't let another person disappear into their laboratories." The confession hung between them, heavy with shared understanding. They were both survivors, both marked by loss and driven by the need to protect others from similar fate. A soft chime interrupted the moment. Jun's station detecting an anomaly in nearby space. Wraith moved to investigate, but paused beside Philia. "Get some rest," he said gently. "Tomorrow we start planning how to save humanity." But as Philia made her way to her assigned quarters, her mind raced with possibilities. The neural implant pulsed with alien knowledge, fragments of Zyraxian code dancing through her consciousness. She understood their technology now, their weaknesses, and perhaps most importantly, she understood their fear. They thought they were superior, thought they could use humanity to save themselves. But they had overlooked something crucial. The very adaptability they sought to harvest might be their undoing. Because Philia wasn't just planning to save humanity. She was planning to end the Zyraxian threat forever. Freedom's price. The next 3 weeks aboard the Whisper passed in a blur of preparation and planning. While Jun worked to establish secure communications with Earth using old frequencies, Philia and Dr. O'Reilly made a breakthrough that changed everything. The neural implant isn't just a translator, Philia explained to Wraith in his quarters, her eyes bright with discovery. It's part of their collective consciousness technology. Every Zyraxian ship, every piece of their tech, it's all connected through a quantum network. And now, thanks to what they did to me, I'm connected too. Wraith leaned forward, understanding dawning on his face. You can access their systems remotely. Better. Philia pulled up a holographic display showing complex alien code. I can introduce a virus into their network, something that will shut down their entire fleet when they arrive for the invasion. But before they could implement their plan, the ship's sensors detected multiple Zyraxian vessels dropping out of faster-than-light travel. They had found them. 3 warships, Zara reported from Tactical, her voice tense. They're charging weapons. Wraith took command instantly. Evasive maneuvers. Jun, is that message to Earth ready? Yes, sir, but we need to be closer to the relay station to transmit. Then that's where we're going. Wraith's hands flew over the controls. Zara, give me everything the engines have got. The Whisper surged forward, pushing through space as energy beams from the Zyraxian ships carved up the void around them. On the bridge, Philia closed her eyes, connecting to the neural network. I can slow them down, she said, her voice distant. But accessing their systems will alert their entire fleet to our location. Wraith met her gaze, understanding the implications. If she used her connection, she would draw every Zyraxian ship in the sector to their position. But without it, they'd never reach the relay station. Do it, he ordered. Philia's consciousness plunged into the alien network. Through the implant, she sent commands that disrupted the Zyraxian ships' targeting systems, bought them precious minutes as the Whisper raced toward the relay station. But the Zyraxians adapted quickly. New ships appeared, surrounding them in a web of deadly energy beams. A hit rocked the ship, sending sparks flying across the bridge. Hull breach on Deck 3, O'Reilly shouted. Emergency containment holding. Another blast struck them, and Philia was thrown against the command console. As she struggled to her feet, she saw it, the relay station, just ahead. They were almost there. Then Medical Director Helix's voice filled their communications, transmitted directly through Thalia's implant. Your resistance is futile. Surrender the subject, and your deaths will be quick. Thalia looked at Wraith, saw the determination in his eyes, and made her decision. Get to the relay station, she said. I'll give you the time you need. Before anyone could stop her, she fully opened herself to the neural network. Pain seared through her mind as she accessed not just the pursuing ships, but the entire Zyraxian fleet. Through her consciousness flowed the virus she and O'Reilly had created, not just a system disruptor, but a complete rewrite of the Zyraxian collective consciousness. What are you doing? Helix's voice held fear now. Stop this. You wanted human adaptability, Thalia gritted through the pain. Now you're going to experience it firsthand. The virus spread through their network like wildfire, changing their rigid, hierarchical consciousness into something new, something more human. Across space, Zyraxian ships stopped as their crews experienced emotion, individual thought, free will for the first time. The pursuing ships' weapons went dark. On their screens, they watched as the mighty Zyraxian fleet fell into chaos, their perfect order shattered by the gift of human consciousness. Message sent, Jun called out. Earth has the data. Fleet Command is mobilizing. But Thalia barely heard her. The strain of maintaining the connection was too much. As darkness crept into her vision, she felt strong arms catch her as she fell. Stay with me. Wraith's voice seemed to come from far away. That's an order, Dr. Winters. Thalia smiled weakly. You know I'm not good at following orders, Commander. The last thing she saw before consciousness faded was Wraith's face, his dark eyes filled with something more than just concern for a fellow soldier. When she awoke days later in the Whisper's medical bay, everything had changed. The Zyraxian fleet had withdrawn to their home systems, their rigid society transforming as individuals began to think for themselves. The invasion was cancelled, not by force, but by choice. They're requesting peace talks, Wraith told her, sitting beside her bed. Real ones this time. They want to learn from us, not harvest us. Your virus didn't just stop their invasion. It gave them what they really needed. The ability to change, to grow, to feel. Thalia took his hand, feeling the strength in his grip. And us. What happens now? Wraith smiled, the expression softening his usually serious features. Now we help build a bridge between our species, together. As the Whisper carried them toward Earth and whatever future awaited, Thalia realized that sometimes the greatest adaptations weren't physical at all. Sometimes they were in the heart, in the choices we make, in the courage to trust, and the wisdom to see beyond our differences. She had gone from captive to savior, from subject to teacher, and somewhere along the way, she had found something she never expected, a home among the stars, and someone to share it with.